Lokati here. Today we're going to go over our Flickerstrike build plans for 3.26. The build is, as of right now, unchanged. Flickerstrike kind of escaped all of the nerfs. The nerfs to the build have no impact on how you gear for it. And so Flickerstrike will continue being a tri-elemental, trinity-based, one-handed sword plus shield Flickerstrike. Now, this is kind of some leftover Flickerstrike gear I have. This is a generically okay sword. It's a 900 DPS, no crit sword. So this is like very, very subpar. This is a very generically subpar offensive shield and does not have any block rating. These are some Ralakeshes that are okay. This is an orange that's okay. These are some very generic gloves, not ideal. Replica Ferals is probably going to be a requirement for the build with the changes to Ralakesh. And then Haunted Bassinet with just some spell suppression and stats on it. So very, very generic gear here on our guy getting started, but still a very, very solid build. We'll go ahead and queue up like a Jungle Valley, 8 Mod Corrupted, Evolution, Shrines, Breach, Resonant, Cascade, just so that there's a lot of creatures on the battlefield to flick. Build functions just like before. You'll come out, you'll smite once every 8 seconds, you'll Vol Haste once every 12 seconds. You'll flicker all across the map. Right now we're just looking for an evolving shrine so that we can trigger some of these breaches. But as you can see, from a mapping standpoint, Flickerstrike is always, always, always at the forefront. It's very fast, very good damage, very good AoE. And the one-handed build with Trinity does tremendously good single target damage. Now, I will say that the two-handed Flickerstrike took a massive nerf to its damage. So two-handed Flickerstrike is, for all intents and purposes, not better than one-handed Flickerstrike anymore from a damage perspective, and also not really better than one-handed Flickerstrike from an any perspective. But, as you can see, it kills everything, even when stuff isn't spawning. We have Enduring Cry available as a heal, but if you have the Replica Ferals, you do not need to use it for Endurance Charge generation. We are going to be running a Ralakesh with the Endurance Charges. So we're generating Brutal Charges with Feral's Fur right now. Normally you would have to generate Brutal Charges in some manner. And so Feral's Fur can do it, Enduring Cry can do it, Endurance Charge on Kill can do it, Endurance Charge when block can do it. There's a lot of different ways. And we're generating Endurance Charges to make Brutal Charges. Brutal Charges, of course, are one of the key sources of damage through Arns. And so those are very important. And then with the changes to Ralakesh, we're going to want our Endurance Charges effective all of the time, so that we can generate damage from the Brutal Charges, but maintain the defenses from the Endurance Charges. That means that there might be a spike in price on Endurance Charge Ralakesh boots in the new season, or, as I imagine most people will be doing, is they'll be playing some Power Charge on crit, Frenzy Charge stacking with a badge, and then they're going to want Frenzy Charge all of the time Ralakeshes, and that could lower the price of our Endurance Charge Ralakeshes. So we'll just have to see how that goes. Outside of that, not a lot of changes to the build. We won't need the Power Charge Ralakeshes because we generate Power Charges through Assassin's Mark and critting targets, so that's fine. We generate Frenzy Charges through the Feral's Fur anyway, which we need to do. We will see a small average damage lower because we're consuming Frenzy Charges now, but we don't always count as having them. So there will be a small dip in the damage because you won't always have the effects of all of your Frenzy Charges. But that's not a huge concern. And then, of course, the Brutal Charges and the Endurance Charges we're going to solve with the Ralakesh. Feral's Fur and Aspect of the Cat, still the go-to. It's going to be better to have Aspect of the Cat on our shield with the Recombinator still active because of the recombinated shields that we can make. So we'll probably go down that route in the end game. But for now, let's go take a look at our build. And we'll be updating this periodically as we see changes. In addition to that, we'll be updating this as we get more information on the new skills and the new rune mastery tattoo thingies that we can do, because something like that could be very beneficial to us. So we'll always have an early budget, a mid budget, and a high budget. I don't have prices for any of these in general right now. And the early budget could be a Terminus Est instead of the Rebuke and the Shield. So that is an option for you. It just depends on whether or not Ceaseless Fists are readily available. They probably are going to be. I'm not too worried about that. Generally, this whole setup will cost you about 10 Chaos to 20 Chaos, depending on where it is in the league. This setup right here will typically cost you between 10 div and 20 div. And then a high budget version is 100 to 200 div, depending on your crafting expertise and the availability of the items. So we do have all of those as options here. From a passive tree perspective, we're leaving everything the same as it was last season for now. I don't see any reason to change anything. So the tree will remain largely unchanged on all of our budgets. And we'll go over this real quick. So we're coming down to bravery because we need as much life as we can get our hands on. We're cutting across down to our frenzy charge here, cloth and chain with armor and evasion mastery. We're taking every life node that we have access to because we do need a lot of life. So we are getting all the life nodes, including Revenge of the Hunted, which is a very important life and evasion node. We are a shield block based build, so we do have Testudo, block mastery, and deflection, as well as shield mastery. We are getting dismembering for crit. We are getting tribal fury and non-vol strikes here. We're coming across here and getting cornered prey for the additional crit that we have access to. Interrogation combines with yoke and taming for tremendous amounts of tri-elemental damage. And then we are using an ancestral vision to cap our resistances because that leaves us the most amount of sockets available. We're using an intuitive leap to quickly grab life right here, as well as crit multi right here, and our fervor charge right here. And if you need it, you have access to Acuity for accuracy right there. We are running Inversion, which is obviously getting a little bit of a nerf, but it is still good. Currently, Inversion is like a 32.5% damage increase. With the nerfs, it's going to be a 25% damage increase. Still very good. We are using Strength and Int to help cap out our stats as we need them. We are running Clever Thief with Instant Leech. We are running Mark the Prey with more accuracy against marked enemies, and grabbing an extra power charge up here for some additional crit. This version of the build, we are running Fatal Blade. Different versions of the build, depending on the budget, won't have access to Fatal Blade because they need to move points elsewhere. And so again, we have an early budget, a mid budget, and a low budget there. On our skills, very straightforward, using Flickerstrike with Trinity, Multi-Strike, Fortify, Elemental Damage with Attacks Awakened, and Ice Bite. Ice Bite is interchangeable. If you wanted to do a little bit more damage, it would actually do more damage to run Awaken added lightning damage, but then you would need to solve the int for it. You can also run increased critical damage, and that is sometimes more damage than Ice Bite, but again, you have to solve the int requirement for it. Ice Bite keeps with our dex requirement, and so that works out very, very well for us. Different budgets, again, we'll have different links on here. Flickerstrike here is using Trinity, Multi-Strike, Ice Bite, Fortify, Elemental Damage with Attacks. And in the early budget, we're running Life Tap and reserving all of our mana, and running Fortify as well. And so we're running Fortify on all of our links because we want to be tanky. Flickerstrike is notoriously dangerous because you are in the creature's face and you don't get to actively dodge a lot of stuff. So Fortify is a requirement if you want to live dangerously. You can swap out Fortify for a more offensive-oriented support gem. Our auras in general are going to be D-Term, Skitterbots, Flesh and Stone with Enlighten to support the ability to run those. We're always going to run Precision with Arrogance. We're always going to run Mark on Hit with Assassin's Mark in any budget except for the Precise Technique budget. And always have Blood Rage available, Leap Slam for additional mobility, and Enduring Cry for the heal, and then Aspect of the Cat to maintain our frenzy charges. Now, we'll make one point to this. If your attack rate is too high, you will not be able to support with just less duration. You will need to add Swift Affliction in here. The higher your attacks per second, the more charges you need to generate. Swift Affliction reduces the cycle time on aspect of the cat and allows you to generate more charges. If your attack speed again is too high, you're having frenzy charge generation issues, you can gain 10% chance to generate frenzy charges here, or 8% chance to generate frenzy charges here. I do have a Google Docs on frenzy charge generation I'll try to attach down below so that you can see the math behind the amount of frenzy charge generation and what you need to support your character. As for anything else on Flickerstrike, if we see some stuff that's really good, I will be sure to include it, but I think this is definitely the way going forward. As I said before, I think two-handed Flickerstrike is out. The loss of the runesmithing weapon enchant is too much of a hit to the damage on two-handed Flickerstrike to justify giving up the massive defenses that you have access to with a shield. If you have any questions over anything, please leave a comment down below or come by Twitch and ask. I am going to be theory crafting for quite a bit this season. We have a lot of new changes, and I appreciate y'all coming by and bouncing your questions off and figuring things out. Thank you very much for watching. Peace.